guys, it's Crystal. It is September 15th, 2025. We live in Connecticut and I am going to be harvesting tomatoes from the garden today, as well as doing a garden tour at the same time. Maybe. I'm gonna try. Sometimes it can be a lot, but I'm going to maybe not do a super efficient garden tour, just kind of show a little bit of how everything's looking. A lot of it's dying back. It's kind of, the summer garden is fading out rapidly, but with that comes a lot of tomatoes that need to be harvested. So we're gonna start doing that. I've got some containers with me. I know there's also summer squash out there still, which I can't believe. And I have beans and peppers and things, so we'll see what we get. But I'm just gonna kind of go through each section at a time. I don't think I'll be able to organize it by vegetable as much as I would like to do it that way. I think that might be a little bit stressful. I grow everything in all different sections of the garden. So I'm just gonna kind of go through each section one at a time, show you how everything's going, and then harvest what we can. I don't know if you saw the last video, but I harvested nearly 73 pounds of vegetables. It was a lot of pumpkins mostly, which is why it was so heavy. Not as many pumpkins as I was hoping to grow this year. I had planted some massive pumpkin plants, but they didn't do well. So I'm already planning for next year to see how I can do things, some changes I can make. And the fruit didn't do very well this year, and watermelons didn't do well this year. Cucumbers, I didn't pickle any traditional cucumber pickles or anything like that. I have been pickling other things like carrots and zucchini relish. So just different things that I'm trying this year that I like and will be added to the roster of canning recipes that I like to make. Let me know what you are harvesting from your garden right now and if you have any questions. Also, I'm looking for recommendations for seeds to grow next year. It's okay if you repeat ones that I already grow. I'd rather just get like a list of ones to try. I love that. That's one of the things I love about on here is getting suggestions of things that I never would have thought to try otherwise. We are growing things out there right now that were based on suggestions from the comment section, like cream sausage tomatoes, and what was another one? Ukrainian purple was also suggested to me. With that, let's get started. Here's the green stalk looking spooky with all the cobwebs. So ever since I cleaned it up, doing so much better. Need to harvest some of this basil here. This middle bed, I have the tender green improved beans that are done. I need to cut those plants out. This yellow crookneck squash is still hanging in there. Lots to harvest off of that. And I also have celery. These celery plants were from cuttings from organic celery at the store. I cut what I want off and then I root the bottom part of the plant in water and then I transplant it out here. And I've got celery growing. There's more beans over here. That is all volunteer cherry tomatoes. There's two different varieties, I believe. There's the large red cherries and then black cherry, which there's not many of those. Over here I have some sporadic aromas, oregano, Opalka, and Cherokee purple. Got these Antigua eggplants growing. I'm not sure when I'm supposed to harvest those. I don't know how big they get. Spoon tomatoes, lots of marigolds that I started from seed. Those are from Dollar Tree Seeds. I've got another acorn squash growing. And those are the purple potted pole beans that I started on August 5th. I don't know that I'll be able to get anything from them, but it's worth a try. We've got lots of different tomatoes. This usually at this time of the year would be full of tomato plants, and it's looking real sad this year. I think it was poor planning. I didn't fertilize well. I don't know. I'm just not really happy with how this garden bed grew this year. I've got these New York Slicing 264 cucumbers that are producing. See some in there still. more marigolds, and some tomatoes in there. We've got tomatoes in here, and there's that Supernova grape tomato plant from MIgardener. I'm not really impressed with it. I'll have to read up on it. I don't think it did very well. Some dill. And these are a mixture of San Marzano, Martino's Roma, and then other San Marzano tomatoes from the store. We've been away. I've got some early prolific straightneck squash that has grown to a healthy size. So we'll harvest those. Start with these large red cherry tomatoes. They are volunteers from the Dollar Tree seeds that I started last year. There's also some black cherry in here. These ones originally came from Baker Creek, but came up on their own this year. And there's a bunch of spoon tomatoes. They're so good. Early prolific straightneck squash from Baker Creek. And I've shown this in some of our harvest videos recently, but the powdery mildew is starting to take over. This is much later in the season than I'm used to. We usually start to see powdery mildew on our plants much earlier, and this year it waited until September to really start to show. I've cut out some plants that weren't producing anymore, but the leaves were pretty icky, like this one here. I'm thinking this plant is at the end. I have been growing this all summer. So the fact that I've gotten as much squash off of it, I can't believe how well that plant did. Over here I'm gonna grab these Crookneck squash from Paige's Seeds. There's some of these Supernova grape tomatoes from MIgardener. I don't know if I'd grow these again. Very small Rosso Sicilian from Sereniseed. And cream sausage tomatoes from MIgardener. They're like a Roma, but yellow. I like them. And there's some San Marzano. Old German tomatoes from MIgardener. Cherokee purple. Ew. That goes to the chickens. And Opalka. These are from MIgardener. And these ones are LaRoma. I got them from the local garden nursery. Now we're over here by the peppers. I have sweet peppers growing in this bed and the hot peppers growing in that bed. I'm gonna harvest what I can see. These are Canary yellow. I was waiting for them to turn. Oh, it looks like this one fell off. This is a giant Marconi. I see some yellow ones in there. So are Canary bell peppers from Baker Creek. Emerald Giant from MIgardener. The one. There's a King of the North bell pepper from Mowing Organic Seeds. Here we have the hot pepper bed where I grew a Cocozelle zucchini plant that went insane. And the zucchinis that it's producing are looking sickly. It's just not looking well. Look at this thing. It's huge. But I think I'm gonna cut into it and give that to the chickens. And I'm finally gonna remove that plant from the hot pepper bed. I think we'll do that right now. That's how the hot pepper bed's supposed to look. Look at how these other pepper plants grew so tall, trying to compensate for that zucchini plant in there. But I can't complain too much. I got a lot of zucchini from that plant. And I have another zucchini over here, also enormous. This is a Black Beauty. I'm going to be giving that to the chickens also. I feel so fortunate to have gotten so much zucchini this year that I can do this for the chickens. So far, they're getting a nice haul of stuff. All right, back to the peppers. It's so nice to be able to walk through here. Oh, it's good. I love cleaning out the things in the garden. All right, we're gonna start with some of these Black Magic F1 jalapenos from Mowing Organic Seeds. And some Craig's Grande jalapenos. They didn't really do that well this year. These are from Baker Creek. And early jalapenos from MIgardener. And pumpkin spice jalapenos from Baker Creek. They taste like normal jalapenos. They're just a really pretty yellow orange. Fresno chili peppers from MIgardener. Here I have Serrano chilies from Dollar Tree. A red ruffled pimento from Hudson Valley Seed Company. And a lipstick pimento from Baker Creek. Habaneros growing. These are from Gilbertie's plants. And I also had grabbed these. It's a Mad Hatter pepper, also from Gilbertie's plants. All right, over here is the cucumber bed. Supposed to be. We really didn't get many this year, but I've gotten here ground cherries and all of these volunteer Rosso cherry tomatoes. And then there's also some cucamelons. They're also known as Mexican sour gherkins. But I'm gonna get some of these Rosso cherry tomatoes now, and all the ones that have split like that, I'm just gonna throw in the chicken bucket. And in the garlic bed, I've got more. Lots of them. Some of these are really large cherry tomatoes. These are so great for canning, like making sauces and stuff. You just run them through the food mill. So in this garlic bed, I have volunteer garlic popping up, which is exciting. And then I also have, these are the Ukrainian purple tomatoes from MIgardener. This is the first one I'm getting. They kind of look like a large Roma. And more cherry tomatoes in here too. So in this garlic bed that we have volunteer garlic growing in, I also have green beans, the bushing ones that got eaten by something, but I see new leaf growth on it. Just not sure if there will be time to actually get anything off of it. And I also have crookneck squash growing in here. I'm gonna try and get that one in there. Here we have lots of tomatoes. Very excited. We'll start over here with the Amish paste. Oh, I walked through a spider web. That's the worst. All right, we have an Amish paste. These are from Mowing organic seeds, and one of my favorites to make sauce with. We've got a few of them in there. And kind of similar to those are these Comstock sauce and slice. Aw, this one's got worm damage, but it looks contained to that. I think it might be savable if I cut that off. So I'm gonna take it. But the Comstock sauce and slice, they're very similar to the Amish paste. So I like those also. And these are Giant Belgium from MIgardener. And we have a Valencia tomato from Sereniseed. These look really nice. Never grown these ones before. Pineapple tomatoes from Baker Creek. I've already harvested a couple of these, and one of the ones I weighed came in at 1.5 pounds. It's about the same size as this one. Brown sugar. This one is also from Baker Creek. I've never grown it before. And then the last video, I harvested all of these Jacoby Little pumpkins. So the vines are kind of dying back, but there's some new growth. I don't know if this one is off of the Long Island cheese pumpkin or not though, because it looks like it's coming from that way. But all of the yellow ones where the leaves are dying back, more from the Jacoby Little pumpkins. This is one of our garlic beds. Bush beans growing. They're doing okay, not great. And I also threw in a bunch of Roma tomatoes. These are Roma VF from Dollar Tree. Looks like a little ground cherry plant growing in here too. I don't know what these tomatoes are. Maybe subarctic plenties. Behind here I have a lot of containers that really aren't doing much. Black Beauty eggplant that has flowers on it. But I harvested 2 very large eggplants off of it already this year. And then I grew carrots in the other containers, so that's kind of slowed down a bit. Over here I've got carrots started from August 22nd. And then we have the honey nut squash that's not really doing much. And I did harvest 2 large spaghetti squash last week, and there were some new ones growing. There's a couple more down there. And then this poor plant is the Bonnie Best tomato. It's one of my favorites to grow, but it got very tipsy, top heavy, which was 100% my fault. I didn't stabilize it, and it got a little breezy when we were away and it fell over. A lot of the green tomatoes fell off of it. And it hasn't really been looking well since. But behind it I have ginger from the store, and those are looking well. More tomatoes in here that I'm gonna get. And these are 42-day tomatoes from MIgardener. They for sure made a comeback. I wasn't sure based on the one plant that didn't really produce much and just kind of died. But I've gotten a decent amount off of these plants, and I've had them in containers, and they did okay. Trying to make sure there's not any spider webs I'm gonna walk through when I go through here. Here's some moonbeam grape. And an Arctic rose dwarf tomato. The cream sausage. Dr. Weishi from Baker Creek. More moonbeam grape. And similar to the black cherry tomatoes that I grow, these chocolate cherry ones just kind of split too. These ones are from Sereniseed. And in this back corner over here, we've got the strawberry bed full of weeds, a volunteer ground cherry plant that has taken over, and we have sweet potatoes in this bed. And behind me we have all the cherry tomatoes that I've been picking off of. We've got honey drop, sunrise bumblebee, pink bumblebee, more rosella, moonbeam grape, and chocolate cherry. So these are the honey drop from Hudson Valley Seed Company. Sunrise bumblebee from Baker Creek. And these are pink bumblebee, also from Baker Creek. Alright, also in this bed, I had started the tender sweet carrots in here. And all of those sprouted. And I've got a zucchini. This is a Green Machine zucchini from Mowing Organic Seeds. This is a beefsteak tomato. And I'm gonna grab some of this kale for the chickens. It's the dwarf Siberian kale from Baker Creek, and they're very nice plants, but I don't really like the consistency of the kale. When I'm eating kale, I like a firmer texture, and this one's very soft, but it's good for the chickens. I think I see there's a honey nut squash in there. Oh, that's exciting. That's from one of the original plants. Most of the sunflowers have died back. The birds have been enjoying some of the seeds. I did harvest a couple of the sunflower heads in the last video. I still have to get the seeds from them. But the zinnias are hanging in there, looking pretty. And we're gonna get some of these Blue Lake pole beans from Hudson Valley Seed Company. So got some pink bumblebee cherry tomatoes in here. We are over here by the Kiwi Vines now. There's still kiwis on them, but they are not ready to pick. They feel a little hard still. So I'm going to leave those on unless I see crazy weather in our future. Then I'll harvest them a little bit early. I just don't think we have as many as we did last year, but I won't really know until I start harvesting them. Another zucchini plant that has done very well, but I think it's done. I'm not gonna cut it out though. I'm kind of tired at this point. So I'll cut it out the next time I come out here, I think. There is a zucchini growing on it. And another one in there. Also, I have some Swiss chard back there. The bush beans that I started in July, they're not really doing great. They didn't produce well. Normally I get way more harvests of them than I've gotten. It's a little disappointing. I didn't put up as many beans in our freezer as I would like to this year. These are the golden wax bush beans from Paige's Seeds. Royal burgundy beans that didn't do well. I don't know. This really wasn't a great showcase of beans this year, which is unfortunate, but sometimes that's just how things go. I'm gonna try and see if there's any ground cherries. These are the Cossacks pineapple ground cherries from Fruition Seeds. If you don't know what a ground cherry is, they come in their own fancy wrapper and they are delicious. These ones taste like pineapple. This one's a volunteer plant. The ones I harvested from first were ones that I started, but they're so good. And Steve doesn't like to eat tomatoes like straight out of the garden, but he does like ground cherries. They're very sweet, like a pineapple, and that's what the inside looks like. Once you start growing them, you're gonna have plants everywhere. I'm always pulling up ground cherry plants. Little volunteers. In fact, we saw one earlier in one of the garlic beds. This one I let go, and I'm glad I did because it's giving us a nice harvest of ground cherries. That's what they look like as they're growing, and then when they're done, they literally fall off. Okay, lastly I'll talk about the Brassica bed. Many of the Brussels sprout plants have fallen over, except for one over in this corner. There are Brussels sprouts growing. A lot of them have fallen over. The cauliflower didn't do great. It looked like maybe it was ready. I was like, I'm gonna give it a little bit more time. And then it just kind of flowered or turned brown. There is another one in there though. I think I should probably, not today, because it's already the end of the day, but I think I will remove the covering, let it get more sunlight. Definitely need to do another harvest of kale. I hope to get a better setup for some sort of cover for this bed for next year. Okie dokie. So we got a nice harvest today, mid-September, and we're really starting to get the tomatoes. There's a lot of them on there that are still green. And I know that the weather is going to be warm this week and then possibly cool off this weekend. Oh, is that a rain cloud over there, Steve?
Maybe.
But we got tomatoes, peppers, zucchini. There are cucumbers out there, but I'm going to give them some more time. I did cut out some zucchini plants also. The one in the hot pepper bed and the one in the cucumber bed. They were pretty much done. There's another one that's done, but I was done by the time I had gotten to it.
The powdery mildew?
No.
Oh, it's still going?
Yeah.
Oh.
Powdery mildew doesn't necessarily mean it's done. And then sometimes it does. All right, my friends. Well, that is going to do it for today's harvest and garden tour. Thank you very much for joining me today. We will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.